In a galaxy far beyond the reach of human telescopes, where stars shimmered like scattered diamonds and planets floated like forgotten dreams, there existed a world unlike any other. It was called Zythera, a planet bathed in hues of lavender and gold, its skies alive with swirling auroras that danced to an invisible rhythm. The air was thick with a sweet, floral fragrance, and rivers of liquid crystal wound their way through sprawling forests of bioluminescent trees. But what truly set Zythera apart was its inhabitants. The Vindari, a race of beings so breathtakingly beautiful that even the most seasoned explorers would stumble over their words when trying to describe them. The Vindari were tall, elegant creatures with skin that seemed to shimmer between shades of opal and pearl. Their eyes glowed faintly, shifting colors depending on their emotions. Soft blues for calmness, fiery oranges for passion, and deep purples for sorrow. They communicated not just with words but also through subtle shifts in light patterns emanating from intricate markings along their arms and necks. Despite their ethereal appearance, the Vindari were no strangers to hardship. Centuries of isolation had made them fiercely independent and wary of outsiders. On Earth, meanwhile, humanity continued its relentless march toward progress. Cities stretched skyward, machines grew smarter, and space exploration became less of a dream and more of a reality. Among those who dared to look beyond the confines of their home planet was Captain Elias Drake, a man whose reputation as both a brilliant pilot and a reckless adventurer preceded him wherever he went. With his tousled brown hair, crooked grin, and penchant for saying exactly what came to mind, Elias was equal parts charming and infuriating. He had spent years leading expeditions into uncharted regions of space, driven by an insatiable curiosity about what, or who, might lie beyond the next star system. It was during one such mission that fate intervened. While navigating the treacherous asteroid belt surrounding Zythera, Elias's ship, the Stellar Horizon, was struck by a rogue meteor. Sparks flew, alarms blared, and the vessel veered dangerously close to the planet's atmosphere. Desperate to regain control, Elias pulled every trick he knew, managing to stabilize the ship just long enough to make a crash landing on the surface below. As the dust settled around him, he stumbled out of the wreckage, disoriented but alive. That's when he saw her. Standing amidst the glowing flora, framed by cascading beams of light, was Princess Lyria of the Vindari. She was everything stories whispered about alien royalty could be: poised, regal, and utterly captivating. Her presence commanded attention without effort, yet there was something softer about her, a quiet vulnerability hidden beneath layers of grace. When their eyes met, time seemed to stand still. For a moment, neither moved nor spoke, each taking in the sheer impossibility of this encounter. Then, breaking the silence, Elias did what he always did when faced with uncertainty. He smiled. "Hey, sweetie," he said, his voice carrying a mix of confidence and nervousness. To his astonishment, Lyria didn't recoil or demand an explanation. Instead, her luminous cheeks flushed a delicate shade of pink, and she tilted her head slightly, as though amused by his audacity. After a brief pause, she replied, "Yes, darling." Her tone was playful, laced with a hint of curiosity that mirrored his own. And then, as if sharing some private joke known only to them, they both laughed. It wasn't the laughter of mockery or disbelief, but something warmer, lighter, a spark of connection bridging two worlds that should never have crossed paths. In that instant, amid the wreckage and wonder, something extraordinary began to unfold. Elias couldn't believe his luck, or maybe it was sheer recklessness, that he found himself sitting across from Princess Lyria in her opulent chamber, sipping on a drink that shimmered like liquid starlight. The room itself was a marvel, walls adorned with tapestries that seemed to shift and change with the light, depicting scenes of Vindari history and mythology. Lyria sat gracefully on a cushioned seat, her glowing eyes fixed on him with an intensity that made Elias feel both exhilarated and slightly unnerved. "So," Elias began, leaning back with a casual ease that belied his inner turmoil, "what do you usually do for fun around here? Any cosmic parties or intergalactic sports?" His attempt at humor was met with a soft chuckle from Lyria, which only encouraged him further. "Because, back on Earth, we've got this game called football. It's kind of like, well, imagine a bunch of guys running around trying to avoid getting tackled while holding an oddly shaped ball." Lyria tilted her head, her expression a mixture of amusement and intrigue. "That sounds energetic," she mused, her voice lilting with genuine interest. "Here on Zythera, our celebrations are more serene. We dance under the auroras, letting the lights guide our movements. It is a form of meditation, really, connecting us to the cosmos. Elias nodded thoughtfully, imagining the scene. Sounds magical, he admitted, then added with a grin, though I think I'd trip over my own feet trying to keep up. Their laughter filled the room once more, easing the tension that had lingered since their first meeting. As they talked, Elias found himself drawn to Lyria's gentle nature and sharp wit. She, in turn, was intrigued by his boldness and the strange, fascinating tales of Earth he wove with such enthusiasm. Yet, beneath the surface of their growing camaraderie, a silent understanding passed between them. This was not just a chance encounter. There was something larger at play, something neither fully understood yet. As the evening wore on, the conversation turned to more serious matters. Lyria explained the challenges facing her people, the dwindling resources, the constant vigilance against potential threats from the vast unknown. Elias listened intently, his heart going out to her. He realized that despite the beauty and advanced technology of Zithra, the Vindari were as vulnerable as any civilization striving to survive in the harsh expanse of space. "And your people?" Lyria asked softly, her gaze piercing yet kind. "What drives them to explore so relentlessly?" Elias sighed, looking down at his hands. "Curiosity, mostly. And maybe a bit of fear. We're always searching for something, answers, allies, a place where we belong." He looked up at her, his eyes reflecting a sincerity that caught her off guard. "Maybe we're not so different after all." The weight of his words hung in the air, bringing a poignant depth to their interaction. For a moment, neither spoke, allowing the significance of their shared vulnerability to settle between them. Then, almost instinctively, they both reached out, hands touching briefly before pulling back, startled by the unexpected contact. Blushing slightly, Lyria stood, smoothing her robes. "Perhaps it is time for rest," she suggested gently, though her eyes betrayed a reluctance to end their time together. "Agreed," Elias replied, rising to his feet. "But, does your palace come with room service? I could use a snack before bed." Lyria laughed, the sound echoing melodically through the chamber. "I shall see what can be arranged, darling," she teased, leading him towards the guest quarters. As they walked side by side, the initial awkwardness of their meeting had transformed into a budding friendship, each step forward weaving them closer into the fabric of each other's lives. Elias awoke to the soft hum of Zitharan technology, the gentle glow of the auroras seeping through the translucent walls of his quarters. Rubbing the sleep from his eyes, he couldn't shake the surreal feeling of being an earthborn human residing within the royal palace of an alien world. Stretching, he wandered to the window, gazing out at the vibrant landscape bathed in dawn's light. The bioluminescent trees pulsed with a rhythmic cadence, as if greeting the new day alongside him. His thoughts drifted to Lyria. The previous night's conversations had left him with more questions than answers, yet there was an undeniable warmth in how they connected. Shaking off the reverie, he prepared for the day ahead. Little did he know, today would unravel secrets that could alter the course of both their lives. A sudden commotion outside his door drew his attention. The hurried footsteps and hushed voices signaled urgency. Before he could investigate, the door slid open, revealing Lyria, her usual composure replaced with evident distress. "Elias, we must move quickly," she urged, her glowing eyes flickering with anxiety. "What's going on?" Elias asked, concern etching lines on his face. "There has been a breach in our security systems," Lyria explained hurriedly. "An unauthorized spacecraft has entered our airspace. We suspect it belongs to the Zorathians, a militant faction that has long sought to claim Zithra's resources." Elias felt a chill run down his spine. "How dangerous are they?" "Extremely," Lyria responded grimly. "They are ruthless, showing no mercy in their conquests. If they discover your presence here, especially as an outsider, it could escalate the situation dramatically." Without wasting another moment, Lyria led him through a series of concealed passageways, her knowledge of the palace's secret routes evident as they navigated swiftly yet stealthily. The corridors were dimly lit, enhancing the clandestine nature of their escape. As they moved, Elias couldn't help but admire Lyria's resilience and leadership under pressure, qualities he hadn't fully appreciated until now. Reaching a secure chamber, Lyria activated a holographic interface, displaying real-time images of the intruding vessel. "We need to devise a strategy," she said, determination hardening her features. "Our forces are preparing, but we require intelligence on their numbers and intentions." Elias stepped forward, his earlier apprehension transforming into resolve. "Let me help. My experience with various space missions might give us an edge in predicting their moves." Lyria hesitated, then nodded. "Very well. We will work together. But remember, Elias, trust is paramount. One wrong move could jeopardize everything." As they delved into planning, the gravity of the situation pressed heavily upon them. The looming threat of invasion cast a shadow over the newfound bond they had started to build. Yet, amidst the tension, a profound sense of unity began to emerge. They were no longer just a human and an alien princess thrown together by fate. They were allies bound by a shared purpose, to protect Zythera and perhaps find a deeper connection in the process. Hours passed as they strategized, their minds melding in a dance of intellect and intuition. Outside, the auroras dimmed, mirroring the storm brewing in the heavens above. Inside, Elias and Lyria prepared for the battle that would test not only their tactical skills but also the strength of the fledgling trust forming between them. As the day unfolded into dusk, the tension aboard the Stellar Horizon mounted palpably. Captain Elias Drake paced the bridge, his mind racing with strategies and contingencies. Beside him, Lyria monitored the incoming data streams, her fingers dancing over the controls with practiced ease. The Zorathian fleet loomed ominously on the horizon, their ships dark silhouettes against the fading light of Zythera's twin suns. "We need to act swiftly," Lyria urged, her voice steady despite the chaos enveloping them. "If we can disrupt their communications, it might buy us enough time to fortify our defenses." Elias nodded, his eyes narrowing as he assessed the tactical display. "Agreed. But we'll need to get close enough to deploy the jamming device without alerting their sensors." A sudden jolt rocked the ship, throwing both of them off balance. Alarms blared, and red lights flashed urgently throughout the cabin. "They've detected us!" cried one of the crew members, panic edging his voice. "Hold steady," Elias barked, gripping the console to steady himself. "Lyria, reroute power to the shields. We can't afford to take a direct hit." With a swift motion, Lyria manipulated the controls, her actions precise and calculated. The ship shuddered again, but the reinforced shields absorbed the impact, buying them precious seconds. "Shields holding at 60%, she reported, her voice clipped but calm. "Good. Now, let's focus on deploying that jammer," Elias instructed, his mind racing through the options. "We'll need to execute a flanking maneuver. Take us in low and fast along their port side." Lyria hesitated, her glowing eyes meeting his with a mixture of apprehension and resolve. "It's risky, but it might just work. Let's do it." As the stellar horizon banked sharply, skimming the edge of the Zorathian formation, the crew worked with feverish intensity. Each member was acutely aware of the stakes. They weren't just fighting for their survival, but for the future of Zythera and its people. The air crackled with a mix of adrenaline and fear, yet beneath it all lay an unspoken camaraderie that transcended species and origins. Suddenly, a massive explosion erupted from one of the Zorathian vessels, sending shockwaves rippling through space. The unexpected blast created a gap in the enemy's line, providing the opening Elias and Lyria desperately needed. "Now!" Elias shouted, seizing the moment. With Lyria's guidance, the jamming device was launched, emitting a pulse that scrambled the Zorathian communications. For a brief, glorious moment, the enemy fleet faltered, their coordinated assault crumbling into disarray. Cheers erupted on the bridge, a testament to the small victory they had achieved. However, the respite was short-lived. Another Zorathian cruiser emerged from the fray, its weapons trained directly on the stellar horizon. "Brace for impact!" Elias yelled, bracing himself as the ship shuddered violently under the barrage of enemy fire. Through the chaos, Lyria remained steadfast, her hands moving deftly over the controls. "Diverting auxiliary power to engines," she announced, her voice cutting through the din. "We need to break free and regroup." Elias watched her, admiration swelling in his chest. Despite the danger, Lyria exhibited a courage and poise that inspired everyone around her. Together, they navigated the perilous battlefield, their partnership evolving into something deeper, a shared commitment to protect not only their respective worlds but the fragile hope of peace between them. As the stellar horizon limped away from the skirmish, battered but still intact, Elias allowed himself a moment of reflection. The bonds forged in the heat of battle were unlike any he had experienced before. They were ties of trust and mutual respect, born from the crucible of adversity. And as he glanced at Lyria, her silhouette illuminated by the emergency lights, he realized that their journey was far from over. The road ahead promised more challenges, more battles, and perhaps more moments of unexpected laughter and joy. Whatever lay in store, they would face it together, united by a cause greater than themselves. In the aftermath of the fierce skirmish, the stellar horizon limped back to Zithra, its hull scarred and systems taxed to their limits. As the ship descended through the planet's atmosphere, Elias couldn't help but reflect on the whirlwind of events that had transpired. The battle had been brutal, testing the resolve and ingenuity of everyone aboard. Yet, amidst the chaos, there were moments of profound connection and camaraderie that transcended the immediate danger. Once they landed, Elias and Lyria were greeted by a somber yet determined assembly of Vindari leaders. The council chamber buzzed with urgent discussions about fortifying their defenses and preparing for potential future assaults. However, beneath the veneer of strategic planning, there was a palpable sense of gratitude and respect for the human who had fought alongside them. As the formalities concluded, Elias found himself wandering the tranquil gardens of the royal palace, seeking solace in the serene beauty of Zithra. The air was cool and fragrant, filled with the soft rustling of leaves and the distant melody of nocturnal creatures. It was here that Lyria found him, her presence as calming as the environment itself. "You handled yourself well out there," she said softly, joining him on a bench overlooking a shimmering pond. Elias chuckled, rubbing the back of his neck. "Well, I've had plenty of practice running from trouble. Facing it head-on is a whole new experience." Lyria smiled, her eyes twinkling with amusement. "And yet, you stood your ground, even when the odds were against us." There was a pause, a comfortable silence as they both gazed at the water, reflections of the twin moons dancing on its surface. "You know," Elias began, his tone turning serious, "fighting side by side like that, it changes things. Back on Earth, we often fear what we don't understand. But here, surrounded by your people, I've seen bravery and kindness that rival any story I've ever heard." Lyria turned to him, her expression thoughtful. "And we have seen courage and ingenuity in you, Elias. Perhaps this conflict will serve a greater purpose, bridging gaps we never thought possible." He nodded, feeling a swell of emotion. "It's funny, isn't it? A few days ago, I was just another explorer lost in space. Now, I'm part of something much bigger." "Yes," Lyria agreed, her voice barely above a whisper. "Something that binds us, not just in duty, but in understanding and trust." Their conversation flowed effortlessly from there, weaving through topics of their respective worlds, their fears, and their hopes. They laughed at the absurdity of cultural differences, like Elias's confusion over Vindari dining etiquette, which involved complex gestures and silent communication. Lyria found his Earth anecdotes equally amusing, particularly his tale of attempting to explain pizza to a group of puzzled Vindari chefs. Yet, beneath the laughter and shared stories, there was a growing awareness of the deeper connection forming between them. It wasn't merely the thrill of adventure or the shared ordeal of battle. It was a mutual recognition of soul-deep similarities and an acceptance of their differences. As the night deepened, they found themselves reluctant to part ways. Sitting under the radiant auroras, they talked until the first light of dawn began to creep over the horizon. The world around them seemed to pause, granting them this moment of peace and closeness. "I never imagined finding someone like you out here," Elias confessed, his voice tinged with wonder. "Someone who makes this vast, unpredictable universe feel a little less lonely." Lyria reached out, her hand lightly brushing his. "Nor did I, Elias. Perhaps the stars aligned for a reason." They shared a smile, one filled with promise and possibility. Though the path ahead remained uncertain, fraught with challenges and unknowns, they faced it with renewed determination. Together, they had weathered storms and discovered treasures beyond measure. And as they rose to greet the new day, Hand in hand, they knew that whatever trials awaited, they would face them as one, two souls bound by destiny and the unyielding spirit of exploration. Just as the first rays of dawn painted the Zitharan sky in hues of gold and lavender, a sudden tremor rippled through the ground beneath them. Elias and Lyria exchanged startled glances before rising to their feet, instinctively stepping closer together. The peaceful stillness of the garden shattered as alarms began to wail across the palace grounds. "What's happening now?" Elias asked, his voice tight with unease. Lyria's glowing eyes darted toward the horizon, where an ominous shadow loomed, larger than any ship they had encountered before. Her expression hardened into one of grim recognition. "It's not the Zorathians this time," she murmured, her tone heavy with dread. "That's the Vorinth." Elias frowned, unfamiliar with the name but sensing its gravity from Lyria's reaction. "Who, or what, are the Vorinth?" She hesitated, her fingers tightening around his hand. "An ancient race thought long extinct. They were once rulers of this galaxy, feared for their insatiable hunger for power and domination. Their technology was unmatched, their armies unstoppable. My ancestors fought them centuries ago, driving them to the edges of known space, or so we believed." As if on cue, a deep, resonant voice boomed across the landscape, seemingly emanating from everywhere at once. It was cold, mechanical, and devoid of emotion, a sound that sent chills down Elias's spine. "Vindari Scions," it intoned, "you have trespassed upon sacred domains. Surrender your world, or face annihilation." Lyria stiffened, her jaw clenched. "They've returned to reclaim what they consider theirs," she whispered, more to herself than to him. Turning to Elias, her gaze was fierce yet tinged with desperation. "We can't fight them. Not even the combined forces of our people could stand against their might." Elias felt a surge of frustration mixed with helplessness. He wasn't about to give up without a fight, not when so much was at stake. "There has to be another way," he said firmly. "We didn't survive the Zorathians just to roll over now." Lyria looked at him, her luminous eyes searching his face. For a moment, doubt flickered there, but then something shifted. A spark of determination ignited within her, fueled by Elias's unwavering resolve. She nodded sharply. "You're right. We won't surrender, not without exhausting every option." Together, they raced back to the palace, where chaos reigned. Vindari guards scrambled to fortify defenses, while panicked citizens fled to underground shelters. In the council chamber, leaders argued fervently about how best to respond to the Vorinth ultimatum. When Elias and Lyria entered, all eyes turned to them. "They'll destroy us if we resist," one elder warned, his voice trembling. "The legends speak of entire civilizations wiped out in mere moments." "And if we surrender?" Elias shot back, his voice cutting through the din. "What happens then? Do you think they'll let us live peacefully under their rule? Or will they enslave us, strip away everything that makes us who we are?" The room fell silent, the weight of his words sinking in. Lyria stepped forward, addressing her people with quiet authority. "Elias is right. Submission won't save us, it will only delay the inevitable. But perhaps there's another path. One that doesn't involve brute force." Her gaze locked onto Elias, and he understood immediately what she meant. If brute strength wouldn't work, maybe cunning would. Hours later, Elias found himself standing aboard the Stellar Horizon once again, this time accompanied by Lyria and a small team of Vindari engineers. Their plan was risky, bordering on insane, but it was their only chance. Using data salvaged from the Zorathian skirmish, they had devised a prototype weapon capable of disrupting the Vorintha's advanced systems. The catch? They would need to infiltrate the enemy flagship to deploy it. "This is suicide," muttered Rin, one of the Vindari engineers, as they prepared to launch. His markings pulsed rapidly with anxiety. "Even if we make it inside, how do we escape?" "We don't worry about escaping until after we succeed," Elias replied, strapping himself into the pilot's seat. He glanced at Lyria, seated beside him, her expression unreadable. "Trust me, I've pulled off crazier stunts than this." Rin raised an eyebrow but said nothing further. Instead, he focused on calibrating the device, muttering calculations under his breath. As the stellar horizon lifted off, Elias piloted the ship toward the colossal Vorinth vessel. Its surface gleamed like polished obsidian, reflecting the light of Zithra's twin suns. Up close, it was even more intimidating, a monolithic testament to a civilization that had mastered the art of conquest. "Here goes nothing," Elias muttered, guiding the ship into a narrow maintenance bay. The landing was rough, jolting everyone inside, but they managed to avoid detection, for now. Once on board, the team moved swiftly, navigating labyrinthine corridors lined with pulsating conduits and humming machinery. Every step felt like walking through the belly of a beast, each corner hiding potential danger. Tension crackled in the air as they approached their target, the central core, where the Vorintha's primary systems were housed. But just as they reached the chamber, disaster struck. A patrol of Vorinth drones appeared, their sleek, insectoid forms clicking ominously as they advanced. Before anyone could react, Lyria stepped forward, raising her hands in a gesture of surrender. "Wait!" she called out, her voice steady despite the fear evident in her eyes. To everyone's shock, the drones halted, tilting their heads as if assessing her. "What are you doing?" Elias hissed, panic rising in his chest. "Buying us time," Lyria replied without looking back. Then, addressing the drones, she continued, "I am Princess Lyria of the Vindari. I wish to speak with your leader." For a moment, silence hung thick in the air. Then, the drones parted, revealing a holographic projection of a towering figure clad in dark armor. Its presence radiated menace, its glowing red eyes boring into Lyria's soul. "You dare address the Eternal Sovereign?" it growled, its voice reverberating like thunder. Lyria swallowed hard but held her ground. "If destruction is your intent, then hear me first. Perhaps there is a solution that benefits us both." Elias watched in awe as Lyria negotiated with the Vorinth leader, her words laced with diplomacy and courage. Meanwhile, Rin and the others worked frantically to activate the disruptor, praying it would function as intended. When the device finally hummed to life, Elias signaled silently to the team. As Lyria kept the Sovereign distracted, they unleashed the pulse, sending a wave of energy coursing through the ship. Lights flickered, systems faltered, and for a brief, glorious moment, the Vorintha's dominance wavered. But victory came at a cost. As the team made their escape, the Sovereign's wrath descended upon them, vowing vengeance. And though they managed to return to Zithra, Elias couldn't shake the feeling that this was far from over. Back on solid ground, surrounded by cheering Vindari, Elias pulled Lyria aside. "You were incredible back there," he said, admiration shining in his eyes. "But I can't shake the feeling that the Vorinth aren't done with us." Lyria nodded gravely. "Neither can I. This is only the beginning." And somewhere beyond the stars, the Sovereign plotted its next move, its crimson eyes burning with malice. The galaxy braced itself for the storm to come. Weeks passed, and an uneasy calm settled over Zithra. The Vindari worked tirelessly to fortify their defenses, while Elias coordinated with Earth's fleet to prepare for the inevitable retaliation from the Vorinth. Though tension lingered in the air, moments of hope began to bloom. Shared laughter between humans and Vindari, quiet evenings under the auroras, and a growing bond between Elias and Lyria that transcended worlds. One evening, as they stood together on the palace balcony overlooking the glowing forests, Lyria turned to him with a soft smile. "Elias, do you think we can truly win this? Or are we just delaying the inevitable?" He met her gaze, his expression resolute. "We've faced impossible odds before, and every time, it's been because we didn't give up. As long as we stand together, there's always a chance." Her eyes shimmered with gratitude and something deeper, a quiet love that needed no words. "Then I'll trust you," she said simply. "To the end." Their moment was interrupted by a distant rumble. Looking up, they saw streaks of light piercing the sky. Not ships of war, but vessels bearing the insignia of Earth's alliance. Reinforcements had arrived, answering Elias's call. Hope surged anew among the Vindari, their spirits lifted by the sight of unity across stars. When the Vorinth finally returned, their forces clashed in a battle that spanned galaxies. But this time, humanity and the Vindari fought side by side, their combined strength turning the tide. In a climactic showdown aboard the Sovereign's flagship, Elias and Lyria confronted the Eternal Sovereign once more. With courage and ingenuity, they unleashed a final pulse, one powerful enough to disable the Vorintha's empire for good. As peace settled over the galaxy, Elias found himself standing beside Lyria beneath Zindara's radiant skies. Hand in hand, they gazed at the horizon, where stars twinkled like promises kept. "You know," Elias said with a grin, "I never thought I'd find home so far from Earth." Lyria laughed softly, leaning into him. "And I never imagined finding someone who could make me believe in second chances." Together, they looked toward the future, a tapestry woven from trust, bravery, and love, proving that even in the vastness of space, connection could bridge any divide. And as the auroras danced above them, their story became legend, whispered among the stars for generations to come.